And we're live. We did it. Okay. Hi, everybody. Let me start sharing. Okay. Okay. Here we are. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the first College Dems meeting after the election. We're here. We're still here. We're going to be talking about doing like a little election debrief with representatives on Escamani and Coescamo Smith, who were reelected. So thank you to anybody who worked on their campaigns, did any poll watching for them. Y'all did great, and they were overwhelmingly reelected. So we love to have our Democratic representation. So we'll be talking a little bit with them about the election. We'll also be talking about our Georgia runoff Senate races, which will be happening in January. Those are going to be super, super important. I won't spill too many secrets. I'll let Dylan handle that. But yeah, and then we'll just be talking a little bit more about how to get more involved with our organization. And yeah, so let's get started. Okay, so I said this already. We are recording. This is like live on our YouTube channel for those who couldn't make it. So please turn your camera on if you're comfortable with that. We'd love to see you. And put your pronouns in your bio so that we know everybody's pronouns. If anybody saw that UCF added that to web courses, I thought that was really cool that you can like add your pronouns in web courses and it shows up like when you post discussions and also to your professors. So I thought that was really awesome, but yeah. Okay, so we're gonna do a quick icebreaker. We haven't done one of these yet this semester because Zoom makes it like a little weird, but what we're gonna do is names, pronoun, major, and then who your primary candidate was. So I'll start, the way we'll do it for like to make it easier, I'll start and then like I'll call on somebody and then like that so that we're not speaking over each other. Okay, so my name is Hannah. I'm she, her pronouns. I'm a political science major. And I actually worked for Warren's campaign. And then after she dropped out, I supported Bernie. So that's me. Dylan, you can go next.
Okay, hello, I'm Dylan. My pronouns are he, him. My major is political science. And yeah, my candidate was Amy Klobuchar. Matthew, who's trying to join right now, our director of outreach, coined the term Klobuchar John. And then once she dropped out, I supported Joe Biden. Zoe.
Hi, my name is Zoe. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the director of political affairs for the UCF Dems Club, if you didn't know. And then I'm a double major in social work and political science. And I supported Bernie in the primary. Let's switch it up. Olivia.
Hi, I'm Olivia. My pronouns are she, her. I'm also the co-chair for the Women's Caucus for UCF Dems. I'm double majoring in political science and journalism, and I was a really big supporter of Pete Buttigieg in the primaries. Oh, and I'm supposed to pick someone. I'll throw it over to Addison, who's here today. This is fun.
Hi, my name is Addison.
You're in second grade.
Then. I'm in second grade.
And who did you support in the primary?
Elizabeth Warren.
I wasn't paying attention.
You're good. Let's have Paola go next.
Hi, my name is Paola. I am secretary of College Dems. I am a political science major. My pronouns are she, her. And my primary candidate was Warren. And when she dropped, I was for Bernie. And I will pass it over to Ashley. Ashley, are you there?
let's pass it over to Gabriel.
Hey everybody, Gabriel, he, his. I studied political science at UCF. I was on the board last spring, and my primary candidate was Bernie, but I ended up voting for Biden just because, Bernie was out of there. I'll go ahead and pass it on to one of the Patricks, Patrick Burnett.
Hey folks, I'm Patrick. Pronouns are he, him. I'm a political science major, and I supported Senator Warren in the primary, but I ended up voting for Joe Biden by the time it was in Florida because he was the only one with a chance to get enough delegates to win. So I guess I'll pass to the other Patrick.
Hi everyone, I'm the other Patrick, he, him. I'm doing political science and economics dual major. And I voted Biden for the primaries, but I supported Yang and Warren. And who hasn't gone? Has Sophia gone? I don't think so. Sorry, I'm prepping dinner right now.
Hi, this is actually my first time here, so hi everyone. I'm Sophia. My pronouns are she, her. My major is political science, and I really liked Pete Buttigieg, but obviously I voted for Biden after. And I'll pass it to Judy because I actually know her.
Hi everyone, my name is Judy. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a political science major as well, and my primary candidate was Bernie. And who hasn't gone yet? Has Naomi gone?
Hi, my name is Naomi. I go by she, her pronouns, but I don't know how to change it yet on my name, so excuse me for that. And I actually don't go to UCF. I still go to Winter Springs High School, but we are invited to listen in, which I'm really grateful for. And if I were able to vote, I would have been for Bernie and then voted for Biden. Thank you. Oh, and Kendall, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Kendall. My pronouns are she, her. I also go to Winter Springs High School, and if I could have voted, my primary candidate would have been Bernie. Taylor, go ahead.
Hi, my name's Taylor. I go by she, her. Again, I'm at Winter Springs High School as well. I run the Winter Springs High School Young Democrats Club. And if I could have voted in the primary, I would have voted for Pete Buttigieg. Let me see. I'm going to scroll through here. I'm not sure who has gone yet. Leo. I see you.
Hi, I go by he, him. My name is Leo. I also go to Winter Springs High School. I can't vote, obviously, but I would have voted for Senator Warren and then supported Biden. Ian?
Hi, I'm Ian. I use he, him pronouns, and I go to Winter Park High School. And I honestly don't know which primary candidate I would have supported because I can't vote, but probably Bernie. Sorry, I joined late, so I don't know who talked and who didn't.
No, you're fine. I'm not sure exactly. I can't see all of you because I have my screen shared. So if anybody hasn't gone yet, you can just go ahead and go.
All right, I'm gonna go. So I'm Matthew Lago. My pronouns are he, they. I'm the director of outreach at the College Democrats. I'm a political science and education major, and my primary candidate actually voted for Bernie, but obviously, stuff happened, so we had to vote for Biden. But hey, we got a great president. I'm gonna see. Hannah, do you know who hasn't gone yet, or has Sonia gone?
No.
Okay, I'll pass it to you.
Oh, sorry. Okay, my name is Sonia. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a biomedical sciences major with a minor in political science, and my primary candidate was Bernie. And Isabella, she can go.
Hi, my name is Isabella. I use she, her pronouns. I'm my biomedical sciences major, and I have a minor in diversity and social inequality. And my primary candidate was Bernie. Oh no, this is so much pressure. Judy.
I've actually already gone.
Let's see, has Gabby gone yet?
No. Hi guys, my name is Gabby Hagan. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for College Dems. My pronouns are she, her. My major is psychology and legal studies. My primary candidate was also Elizabeth Warren, but I ended up voting for Bernie in the primary. I think everybody's gone, unless I'm mistaken.
I think I'm the last one.
Okay, go ahead.
So my name is Mel. My pronouns are she, hers, ella. I am a political science major and I supported Bernie in the primaries.
Okay, awesome. Anybody else that hasn't gone?
I haven't gone. I'm Rafa. I go by she, her. I'm a health sciences major and I voted for Bernie in the primaries.
Alrighty. Anyone else? Okay, awesome. All right, well, it was great to meet all of you. Those of you who are new, welcome. We definitely have like a wide range of support here, so that's awesome. That is definitely what we're looking for, like a diversity of thought kind of situation. So great. We're super happy to have all of you. I'm gonna pass it to Gabby to talk about dues really quick.
Okay, hi again. Yeah, so again, we're hitting the end of the semester and dues per semester are only $15. If you want to be a dues paying member of College Dems, you can Venmo or Cash App us at these usernames on the screen. If you have any questions or you're confused or just want to talk, feel free to reach out to me and I'll help you along the process. But yeah.
Yeah, since we're like basically the fall semester is over, anytime like from now on that you pay, it'll be for spring. We won't be taking like year-long dues anymore. So yeah, if you want to become like an official member of our organization, be able to like run in elections or become a caucus chair, then you can pay your dues there. I'll pause for 1 second if anyone like wants to take a picture of that or anything. Okay.
I'll go ahead and type both of those in the chat too so that they're saved.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, so we have a Georgia election update. Our Vice President, Dylan Hall, is going to be doing that. So let me stop sharing. Okay, Dylan, you're good to go.
Okay, hello everybody. It's Dylan again. I'm the Vice President. Give me 1 second while I figure out technology. Okay, we're here. We're here. We've made it. Okay, can everybody see that? Everybody see it? Lit. Okay. So again, I'm the Vice President of College Democrats, and I also had the pleasure of being the chair of Knights for Joe throughout the fall semester. And right now, we probably have two of the most important Senate races in, honestly, modern history happening directly above us. And we can play a part in making sure that those Senate races go for the Democrats and then giving us the Senate. So this is Georgia on my mind, the fight for the US Senate. So before we talk about the specific races, one of the things that we really do want to do is give credit to the organizers and organizations that made a blue Georgia possible. If somebody was going to tell me like a couple months ago that Florida would go red in 2020 and Georgia would flip blue, I would have laughed. But apparently Georgia has its stuff together, and now we are benefiting from those organizers that made it possible. In particular, obviously the one that's getting a lot of credit is Stacey Abrams, and she deserves a lot of credit. For those of you who were able to come to our event right before Election Day, we were able to actually have Stacey Abrams here on campus speak about the need to promote voting rights and also the need to early vote. So that was something that, especially in the post-election season, makes that event way cooler, knowing that she played a key role on top of both of her Fair Fight Action and New Georgia Project organizations. But one of the things that I have liked seeing on social media is people raising up other organizers that also put in the work, that also deserve the credit. So I tried to compile a list of different people that have been credited and their organizations, including groups like Georgia Stand Up, which is led by Deborah Scott, who is a very, very crucial Black female organizer in the state of Georgia, on top of the Working Families Party, the Georgia Coalition for the People's Agenda, Black Votes Matter, Pro Georgia, the Southwest Georgia Project for Community Education, and various unions, both labor unions and teachers unions across the state of Florida, all came together and organized in ways we've never seen before, and really laid out a blueprint of what we should be doing in the state of Florida going forward. But we definitely do feel like these people and these organizations deserve a lot of credit, on top of all the individual organizers who will go nameless, but their efforts have brought us to where we are today, so they deserve as much credit as possible. So the first big question is, why is there a runoff happening in the state of Georgia? So a runoff election can happen in certain states, Georgia being one of them, where no candidate receives 50% of the vote. Florida is a state where there is no runoff election system. So if the election was 49.5 to 49.3, the 49.5 person would win. In the state of Georgia, though, if you don't get over 50%, you have a runoff election about 2 months later, and the winner of that becomes the actual winner. So in the state of Georgia, obviously, the reason why we're having 2 runoff elections is because on November 3rd, both Senate races, neither person that was in the lead reached the 50%, which in both cases was good for the Democrats, particularly the race between David Perdue and Jon Ossoff. But now these 2 top vote earners are going to reach January 5th, where they're going to face each other again. And the goal is to beat the tradition that Democrats have of not doing great at runoffs, and to make history electing 2 Democrats to the US Senate. So now I just kind of want to give a brief overview of the 4 candidates in this race to give you a better picture of who our people actually are and who the Republicans are. So Jon Ossoff was a former intern for John Lewis and a staffer and advisor for current Rep. Hank Johnson in the state of Georgia. He's also, very strangely, because it's just not talked about, the CEO of an investigative journalism company. That's kind of cool. And he's most famous for narrowly losing a special election for Georgia's 6th congressional district that thankfully then in 2018 was won by Democrats. So he's running against David Perdue, who's the incumbent. And on November 3rd, he was able to win 48%, which for a Democrat in the state of Georgia is actually extremely impressive and was enough to make it go to a runoff in the first place. So now David Perdue, who, I'm going to be blunt, is kind of a piece of garbage. So he was elected to the US Senate in 2014, and he's the former CEO of Dollar General. But he is one of 2 senators that's accused of insider trading because he bought stock in a PPE company following a congressional hearing that said that COVID-19 was potentially dangerous, while simultaneously downplaying it in the public. So he is the epitome of a corporate politician, because obviously there are corporate politicians on both sides, but he's a corporate Republican who at the end of the day cares more about his bottom line. But in particular, 2 of the things that he's done that is also particularly kind of terrible was proposing legislation that would have cut legal immigration by 50%. He was trying to really court the Trumpy racist vote, to be brutally honest. And his campaign was criticized heavily for using anti-Semitic campaign material against Jon Ossoff with the inclusion of Chuck Schumer. So now the other Senate race has Pastor Raphael Warnock, who was a senior pastor at Ebenezer Baptist Church. And MLK was the former pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church. So it's arguably, I would actually say it is one of the most famous churches, not just in the country, but in the world. And he has been a leader in terms of fighting for progressive causes in the state of Georgia, particularly in 2014, when he was arrested for trying to do a sit-in for Medicaid expansion in the state of Georgia, which is something that Florida relates to, as we also don't have a Medicaid expansion, which would help millions of people. He chaired the New Georgia Project, which was one of the groups that made a Blue Georgia possible, and he's currently running against Kelly Loeffler and won 32.9% of the vote on November 3rd. But what makes that significant, because even though it seems like a small margin, is that he was the top earner in that race. So 32.9 was actually a win. And now Kelly Loeffler, who somehow is worse than David Perdue. She was appointed by Brian Kemp in 2020. So she was already appointed by a guy who stole the Georgia governor election and decided to appoint her. She's a businesswoman and co-owner of the WNBA Atlanta Dream. For context, the players of the Atlanta Dream hate her guts and actively wear Warnock uniforms at their games. She is also the other senator accused of insider trading, but hers is even worse because it was millions upon millions that she sold and bought in various different companies at that same congressional hearing, and then also downplayed the virus because, that's how money works. And she votes in line, according to congressional sources, 100% of the time with what Donald Trump wants. So she is just a rubber stamp for anything that right-wing Republicans want. So with all that said, how can you get involved? So there are multiple ways that, because obviously we're not in Georgia, but there are ways that we specifically can get involved if we choose to, both as an organization and then as individuals. So the first biggest way that you can help is to donate to both of their campaigns, because what's really happening in this Georgia Senate race is now the Republican Party is able to hone all of its resources into one state. So they're pouring as much money as humanly possible to win these two seats because they're scared that it could actually flip. So the best way you can do that is to donate to both John Ossoff's campaign and Raphael Warnock. So another way that you can also help is by utilizing technology, like we've been doing throughout the fall campaign that many of us have participated in and some of us may not have, by working on both phone banks and text banks. And I actually looked it up that both campaigns are doing this. So that's a way that you can either call or text directly into Georgia to speak to Georgia voters. I have a feeling those Georgia voters are going to be overwhelmed with calls, but we want them to be overwhelmed with Democratic calls, not Republicans. The Warnock campaign is specifically recruiting people to promote their social media. And that's something that is very easy. I looked up, they have a Google form. It takes like 2 seconds and they just want you to promote their material. And then there is another small thing that I had read about that's called the Georgia Postcard Project that was established like a year ago. And basically you're able to write a postcard to send to registered Democrats in Georgia to get them to vote. But there are also ways that you can also just donate to that organization to make it easier for them to do that. And then we also wanted to highlight a bunch of other organizations that you can donate to, because obviously we want to donate to the Ossoff campaign and the Warnock campaign. But we also recognize that the way that we can build not only a blue Georgia, but a new South as a whole is by investing in our organizers and into the organizations actually on the ground building that community. Because one of the biggest problems that we've seen, not just in the state of Florida, but in other states where Democrats fell short, is that you have huge groups of Americans, both Hispanic, African-American, Asian-American, and even rural white Americans that feel like Democrats only come around every 4 or 2 years, depending on if it's a midterm, to tell them to vote for them. That what we're realizing more and more, not just here, but around the country, is that actually being active in the community and fighting for issues that people in the community care about and being a constant presence is the way you build those relationships and you make yourself worth their vote, because we shouldn't be expecting their vote. We should be doing everything we can to encourage them to want to vote for us in the first place. We shouldn't expect them to just vote for us in droves. We have to fight for it. So a bunch of groups you can donate to is Flip Georgia Blue, Georgia Stand Up, Fair Fight. One group that actually did a lot of amazing work that people don't really acknowledge that much in a place like Georgia is Asian Americans Advancing Justice in Atlanta, or that's based in Atlanta. But Georgia has a growing population of Asian American and Pacific Islanders, and that's an organization that's been doing everything it can to mobilize those voters. Black Voters Matter Fund, the New Georgia Project, Sister Song, Galileo, which is a immigrant organization and immigrant rights organization, ACLU of Georgia, Common Cause Georgia, Pro Georgia State Table, and the Georgia NAACP. Those are all organizations that if you don't want to donate specifically to the Democratic Party or to the specific candidates, those are organizations on the ground doing the work and are going to continue to do the work regardless of if we win those Senate seats. Obviously, fingers crossed we win it, but those are good groups to reach out to. And with all that said, some of the runoff dates, tomorrow actually is when they get their absentee ballots, and then December 7th is the voter registration deadline, December 14th is early voting, and January 5th is when hopefully we will have a Democratic Senate to welcome Joe Biden on Inauguration Day. And all that said, now is the time to pool our resources together and fight, not just to give us a blue Senate, but also make these wins meaningful, because in a lot of ways, I do think that the Georgia runoffs is a good blueprint of how we need to begin to operate in the state of Georgia. because we know a lot of people were disappointed with how Florida acted this cycle, but we haven't given up yet. So all together, we're bringing it in. I had to use my Georgia King, Jimmy Carter there, but we're going to build the blue wall in Georgia. And then hopefully in 2022, we're going to build the blue wall back in Florida. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Dylan. We super appreciate it. Those Senate races are going to be so important. Obviously, we are super excited that Biden has been elected and Kamala Harris as well. But it will be so much easier for them to get done everything that they want to get done if they have a blue Senate behind them. So definitely anything, if you're like able to donate or put in any sort of time into those elections, is going to be super important. If you have any questions about how to get involved, you can always reach out to us. You can DM us on Instagram, email us, whatever, stick around after the meeting and ask questions, anything. But yeah, those are going to be super important. So now we're going to be moving on to our election debrief. We have Representatives Carlos Guillermo-Smith and Ana Escamani here. They're actually in Tallahassee right now. They just recently got sworn in, so congratulations. And congratulations on your re-election. We love having our blue representatives here in Central Florida to help us advocate for things that we care about. But yeah, so we're just going to let them talk for a few minutes about everything that happened in Florida, everything from like, all the way down the ballot. And then we're going to do like a quick little discussion and like questions if anybody has any questions at the end. So I'll go ahead and pass it off to the two of them. But yeah, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Hannah. Thank you for having us. This is really cool. I see that my work wife, Representative Escamani, is in commute, it appears, back to Orlando, actually.
Yes,
I'm
love
not
the
in commute.
turtle.
Look, I'm in a hotel room.
I love the turtleneck, Rep Smith. You looking good.
Thank you. Well, full disclosure, I know that a cold front just kind of came through Florida, but it is much colder in Tallahassee, as I presume that it is in Central Florida. And hey, listen, UCF College Democrats, I'm just really excited to be here. I know that we have a lot to talk about, but what I'll start by doing, and I'm sure that I know that Ana has a lot to say as well, is just kind of the highlights and takeaways. Of course, so amazing, and it's almost hard to believe, just because we've been dealing with Trump for so long. It seems like that, we did it. You did it. We were able to elect Joe Biden as president of the United States, president-elect. And that is happening on January 20th. Whether Trump wants to participate in it or not, there will be a transition of power that does not require his concession. It doesn't require any sort of graceful remarks from him or anything really from him whatsoever, other than leaving the White House grounds and property, which will happen. And so, of course, there's been lots and lots of conversation about what happened here in Florida. And starting with the positive, I just want to give another round of applause to UCF College Democrats and everyone who was involved in helping to not only turn out the youth vote, not only to get out the vote for Joe Biden, just overall in the area. And there's a number of things that I know that we even worked on together, although that was just a small portion of what UCF College Dems did all on their own. The 107% turnout at precinct 538 was almost unbelievable. I mean, it's just kind of hard to believe. You had all these political nerds just not only reacting to the 107% turnout at the UCF precinct, but also scrambling to understand the math behind how this can be possible. Like, how does that actually happen? Someone walk me through the logistics. And so, that's of course, a huge credit to you all who were able to turn out literally every voter in that precinct, and then some on top of that with some change of addresses. So that was just absolutely incredible. And I'm just really, really excited about the role that you all played in that. When we look at overall, of course, point out the elephant in the room. Donald Trump did not, he didn't win the presidency, but he won Florida, unfortunately, and our neighbors to the north in Georgia went blue when really we feel like that should have been us, right? So we have a lot to learn from Georgia and what they did right and what Florida can do to kind of replicate their success. When it comes to members of Congress, we lost 2 congressional seats, Democrats did in Florida. Both of them were in Miami-Dade County. One was, while disappointing, it was a race that we always knew to be competitive, and that losing it was certainly a possibility, though it wasn't what we were hoping for. Another congressional seat loss was actually a surprise to most observers, which is also what's kind of shocking and stunning about so many of these Democratic losses, was just the sheer surprise of it all. The fact that those who are allegedly in the know, right, Anna, didn't see it coming. We were supposed to pick up state Senate seats, ones that we cared about right here in Central Florida, like Patricia Sigmund's state Senate seat. And instead, we actually lost ground when Senator Jose Javier Rodriguez, who's a progressive champion for us on so many different issues, someone who I've sponsored legislation with as my Senate counterpart for bills that we filed together, lost his election by less than 40 votes. And we had a net loss of 5 state house seats. None were in Orange County, luckily. We actually did very well in Orange County, especially compared to the rest of the state. So I think that there's a lot that they can learn from us. And, those conversations obviously have been ongoing. And I want to applaud my colleague, Rep. Escamani, because in all frankness, she's been leading those conversations. And she's certainly been leading those conversations for the state party in a public way, which is such an important part of the puzzle here, that we are not having conversations just behind closed doors, but that they involve stakeholders, people who are impacted, party leaders, organizers, marginalized communities. And those are really courageous conversations that Anna is having with a lot of folks that, I've been happy to be an observer of, and, obviously a part of this work as well. So I'll shut my mouth now because that was a brief overview. And I know that Anna has a lot of thoughts to share as well. That's just kind of an intro.
Thanks, Rep. Smith. You're amazing. Best work husband ever. And it's always great to be with the UCF College Democrats. As folks know, I am a UCF College Democrat alum, and I was once the vice president back in 2011 to 12. My twin sister was the president of College Democrats. And so go Knights, charge on. And forever grateful for all of your work and your organizing and everything you put on the table and leave on the field to get out the vote for the issues we care about and for the candidates that we know are going to be better for our state and country. To that point of Rep. Smith, I am in commute. So we were in Tallahassee, or we were all in Tallahassee this week for organizational session. So Rep. Smith and myself won our re-elections campaigns, and in large part too, I know for my campaign, a lot of our amazing interns who come from UCF, Rollins, Valencia, and high schools around the country. And so we got sworn back in today, and I am on the road home. Actually, I have quite a few Zooms this evening, and I'm at a rest stop outside of Ocala, so I could just barely made it back to Orlando. But really glad that I could share space with y'all. And I think that is the topic at hand, right? And I appreciate Dylan, reviewing some of the Georgia dynamics. The one thing about Georgia too that we have to remember is that they have been organizing on the ground for a decade, right? And it's been vigilant. There's been structured goals and they have been met. They expanded the electorate. They they essentially had to combat, generations of suppression to get where they are today. And you just don't see that same type of organizing in Florida, for a very long time. And I'm sure y'all experienced this, within your interactions too with the state party. But the state party and the DECs don't really function as a power building institution. And I say that as someone that, when I was in College Democrats at UCF, we used to go to the SEMDEM meetings and the Orange County DC meetings every month. I don't know if y'all still do that, but that was kind of like part of our MO, was that we would go to their meetings every month, and we actually would like give updates as College Democrats. We fill out a speaker card, and it was our way of like maintaining relationships with the local parties. And also there might have been opportunities of, maybe they were marching at Pride, so we would join them, but it was kind of like an opportunity for students to engage with the DCs. And candidly, a lot of students don't want to engage at a deeper level because it is a mess. Like the DCs tend to be spaces where people yell at each other versus like actually get things done. And I became a board member of the DEC right after I graduated, actually, because Scott Randolph, who was back then a state house representative, now he's our tax collector, was the party chairman locally and invited me to join his board. And I very naively said, yeah, sure, that sounds great. What do you want me to do? And I was the membership chair, which, by the way, sounds fun and easy, but it is a lot of work. And it was all about membership recruitment, membership orientation, membership retention. And it was really, really important to me that we, created a culture of welcoming new people, but also getting new people plugged in. And I think that's such a big part of 24/7 organizing. It's not, you don't just organize for the campaign cycle, you're organizing every single day. And a college campus is very conducive to that. I remember when we were at UCF, I was, like I mentioned, vice president, my sister was president during an off year. I mean, we were always registering voters, don't get me wrong. We register voters like year long. After our year of leadership, we registered 12,000 students to vote that year. And I remember going to places like Waterford Lakes, and to this day, like running into people that said I registered them when they were in college. And so it's a very sweet feeling, to do voter reg, because it has that substantial impact. But even though we did voter reg, we did a lot of other activities too, right? We talked about student debt. We talked about Black Lives Matter and racial justice. We did a slut walk. We try to come up with different reasons to stay engaged. We did Day at the Capitol with SGA, but we did our own meetings. Like we would take the bus ride with SGA, but then we went rogue. So there's a lot of cool opportunities to work with students to implement the 24/7 organizing, and then looking at the party infrastructure as young people to consider ways to get involved in the DEC. I was lucky that Carlos became the chairman, Rep. Smith became the chairman when I was a board member. So he was a phenomenal leader. But I do think that we need good leaders in these positions to implement that 24/7 organizing mentality that I know helped in my victory. We actually won our seat by a larger margin than in 2018 when we first flipped it. And we won 2 precincts that went to Trump. So I don't mean precincts that went to Trump in 2016. I mean, in 2020, these 2 precincts, 55% voted for Donald Trump, 54% voted for us. And that only happened because of our field operations. Like we did put a pause on door knocking, but we turned our volunteer apparatus towards wellness checks. So we started calling constituents not to vote for us, but to ask, what do you need right now during the pandemic? So we kind of, created our own triage for constituent services with 48 volunteers leading that operation for unemployment and really helping folks versus taking them for granted. And then we did, as many of y'all joined us, we put back into place our literature drop operations in about July. And then for the last 2 weeks, we did door knocking for those that were comfortable, social distancing. But we felt that it was too important not to actually knock on doors. Meanwhile, we all know the Biden campaign did the complete opposite, right? Even the event with Stacey Abrams at UCF, and y'all know, was very restrictive how they wanted to do it, right? And so those restrictions impact our ability to mobilize, but also Stacey Abrams should have been at UCF a year ago, right? If we really want to build power collectively, then we need surrogates to help us attract new members a year ago so we can replicate their models every day until election day and then beyond election day too. And the last thing I'll say, because I obviously want to see what questions folks have, and I have another 7 p.m. engagement I got to hop onto, but there is, of course, a lot of excellent points, not only around the importance of field and transformational politics, but the importance of defining our communities both in the context of class and race, which do intersect, but they also can't be treated as completely different, right? Like, there's been a lot of conversations about lack of Spanish language engagement. And I even saw that in our district, where we invested in Spanish language advertising through like digital ads. We did Spanish language literature. First thing we did was print Spanish language literature with our English literature and get that out to folks. We did a Spanish language text bank and phone bank. And we found all of those mediums to be some of the most effective when compared to our English content, because this was a community that was not getting talked to. Like, there wasn't a lot of direct communication. And we found that text messages in our Spanish language text bank were actually much more friendly and robust and communicative, and folks asking legitimate questions about voting, which tells us that they were not being heavily reached out to, and that's a shame. And we've all seen the stories about the lack of engagement in Spanish language, the lack of addressing disinformation campaigns in Creole spaces, in Asian American spaces by the Biden campaign. And remember, the person leading the Biden campaign was a longtime consultant that was brought on for that role. And the FDP also leans very heavily on a select few consultants to dictate how money is spent. And so there's a larger, I think, conversation to have around, like, how are we spending money, and who are we hiring to do this work? And are we hiring from directly impacted communities? Are we prioritizing, content and resources for those where English is not their first language? And then on the class piece, like, who are our enemies as Democrats? Like, I get very frustrated because I think Republicans are very good at defining the enemy, right? Socialism is bad. Defund the police is bad, right? But who's our enemy, right? Like, for an everyday person to understand, which is why Rep. Smith and I are very aggressive on calling out corporate influence and special interests, because I would argue that those are really, like, they're like clear-cut enemies. Like, money in politics, corporate influence, they're dictating what bills pass and what bills don't pass. They're dictating who pays taxes, who gets refunds. Like, they are a direct target for us to go after, and to really help working class people also realize, like, who has their back. But so many Democrats receive money from these corporations, so they're shy to say anything. And it creates a dynamic where something as clear cut as a $15 minimum wage gets lukewarm reception among some Democrats, which makes it more difficult for us to be unified and pushing for that message, even though I would argue the gradual increase of $15 an hour is actually not even that progressive. It's pretty middle of the road. It's a pretty modest proposal. And yet I got branded as something, very left, which is just not the case. So yeah, happy to hear what questions folks have. And unfortunately, I do have a hard stop in 10 minutes, but happy to be here, and always grateful to be with our college Democrats.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, both Representative Smith and Escamani, for joining us. So if anybody has any questions about anything that was said, or the election in general, or wants to add anything, I do real quick just want to give a big shout out to all of our organizers that are on the call. We have a couple FDP organizers and some other organizers with other organizations. So big shout out to you guys. I know it was a difficult election season, but you guys worked so hard, and your work definitely does not get shouted out enough. So definitely big props to you guys. Thank you all for all of the work that you do on our campus and also off campus. But yeah, okay, so does anybody have
And I just want to say, I also see Patrick here, and Patrick was one of our interns. I don't know whoever else is here with Team Anna, but just much love and respect to everyone, all of our organizers, and especially our Team Anna folks.
Well, and also I was gonna say, I know that she's busy working in the Oval Office, but I see that Addison is with us here, and that she shared with us that Elizabeth Warren was her fave during the primary. Also, Addison, there's someone special here who wants to say hi. My husband, Jarek.
It's the first man of HC 49.
That's right. So Addison was one of our super volunteers during the campaign as well, from all the way in Brevard County, which I just absolutely love. And she's going to make a great legislative assistant, and then state rep, and then member of Congress, and then president of the United States.
Yes, we love Addison.
So I'm really excited to see her here.
Alrighty. Any like questions or comments or anything?
I had one. Either of you can answer, but it's just kind of based off of something that Anna had mentioned when you mentioned that the Republicans are very good about defining a clear enemy. I definitely agree. I think Republicans are also really good about kind of having untouchable things, or things that universally you won't get any Republican candidate to talk against, or they kind of all universally typically have the same opinion on things, sort of like military and federal power and things like that. What would you guys agree that when it comes to that sort of thing, the Democratic Party can sometimes be kind of divided in a sense of like they're not necessarily universal things that everyone agrees on? Personally, I think that's really great. I don't really think there should be things that are untouchable, but that is something that the Democratic Party has, and the Republican Party has, and they definitely use that to their advantage, and I think it's a strong thing for them. And I just wanted to know your guys' thoughts on that, and if you've seen that kind of impact things in Florida.
So this is where the importance of value steps in, right? So because you're right, Republicans have these non-negotiable issues is what I would define it as well. But they're all grounded in values that they set themselves to, and whether it's freedom, security, it's like these larger broad-based philosophies of values, and the issues are derived from there. And I think there actually should be non-negotiables that Democrats have. Like, for example, equality, whether it's LGBTQ plus equality, women's equality, racial equality, like that is a value that we should encompass. I also mentioned, already, the directly impacted people, like that we center conversations and we center policy on the needs of everyday people, no matter how much money they have, no matter who they love, no matter the color of their skin. Like that's our emphasis, not corporations. So I think there's also the dynamic of, diversity is our strength, and we embrace that. And then also just like in the sense of like economic mobility, I think is another concept that Democrats care about. We want you to be able to change your stars. And which is why a good union should be accessible and respectable, which is why you should have a good paying job, which is why nobody should go hungry in this country, which is why everyone should have access to healthcare. So I actually do think that there are because the Republicans too, nobody's asking them to go into the weeds, which we definitely should, right? But they're tying to these like broad-based concepts, and I think the one of the challenges of Democrats is that we don't have values to even ground ourselves in that are shared, where we should, because there are basic democratic values where we can all like at least start from. And then we're too close. We're too quick to like get into a defensive posture versus an offensive one, because I don't think we even have to respond. Like we need to be able to push back against attacks, but then pivot to our values. And in so many cases, either we try to ignore a response or we do a gentle response back, and then we don't offer an alternative. But when you have values that can set a contrast, then it gives us a space to actually pivot towards our values, which from my perspective anyways, appeals to everyday people. And I think to succeed in a state like Florida, it's not about red versus blue. It's about building a rainbow coalition. and being able to talk to folks in the fanciest of living rooms about their quality of life and their health and security, while also going to a hotel lobby where families can afford rent to talk about their quality of life and their security. So you have to be able to, communicate to all those types of classes of people and all those experiences. And, unfortunately, it's hard for Democrats to even do that because, like I said earlier, we don't have values, or we're censored because of where our dollars come from, or the consultants we're hiring who are making decisions on polling and not what's happening on the ground. And I always talk about how many of these consultants have knocked on a working class neighborhood door to actually hear what a working class person's going through.
Yeah, I think you sort of hit that nail on the head there. Definitely, like, going off what you're saying, I think it's really important to like clarify non-negotiable versus untouchable, because I definitely agree that we should have non-negotiable values in place that we can sort of all unite for. But I do think there's something about the Republican Party that they have this thing where you can't offer criticism towards certain things without them automatically deeming you as someone who is against it or doesn't respect it or doesn't appreciate it. And I think that that's definitely, sorry if you can hear SVU in the background. But I do think that's something to point out that the Republicans have. And I think that especially as young people, and especially with, I think through social media, we're starting to kind of normalize a little bit more of open discussion about political views and opinions. I think that's something really important to sort of emphasize on, that you can support things and criticize them at the same time. I think that's something you sort of saw with Biden as well. If any criticism was offered against Biden, there was a big argument of, oh, well, you're just helping Trump's campaign. At least I saw that a lot on Twitter and things like that. It was something present on social media, and petty arguments on there and things like that. But I think like all agreeing that we have non-negotiable values, but that nothing is undeserving of criticism, I guess would be the way to say it, is something that I think should be really emphasized going forward, in politics. And I think it's something that the Republican Party doesn't have, and that Democrats could use to help just get more grassroots things into play, and use that to help focus on communities and people on the ground, rather than like what you were saying, influence from the people that control funds and things like that.
I just want to raise a question in the chat about how to get involved with either representatives. I saw, Anna, that you put your website in there, but Carlos, if you have any like a quick blurb. I know Representative Escamani has to go in a second, but any quick blurb about how people can stay involved.
Yeah, and one thing that I would put out to UCF College Democrats is here's one of the things that I remember happening when Obama was elected in 2008. And I look at it through this experience because that's what really got me involved in political activism and engagement. I kind of had a very modest involvement in President Obama's campaign. It was in Georgia, and that's when I lived in Atlanta. And then when he was elected, I'm like, okay, now what? Now what happens? And that's when a lot of the grassroots campaign volunteers and campaign infrastructure immediately converted into more of a policy advocacy infrastructure to help implement his progressive agenda. Now, obviously, there's some differences between that election and this one. Joe Biden is president-elect of the United States, and there's going to be opportunity for engagement there. But let's be real. I mean, you all are connected with us, with political leaders locally, like myself, Anna Escamani, others that you might know. We might be in the minority party in Tallahassee, but there's no question that we need folks out in the field, grassroots organizers like yourself, to help us not necessarily implement a policy agenda, because we know that these are going to be heavy lifts in Tallahassee, but to get the word out for Democrats about our policy agenda, about the things that we're fighting for that lift up all Floridians, like a living wage to $15, which we'll be implementing, legalizing cannabis for adult use, criminal justice reforms, and racial justice measures that we've been talking about for the last year. These are all concepts that we need to continue communicating out to our constituents and out to our areas so that we can get to a place where I think voters are going to be more open to our message. Now, obviously, we've got a good audience in Central Florida because Orange County did well, but we can always get more followers and more leaders. And I would strongly recommend that UCF College Democrats get really, really involved with our legislative work or in local government so that you can have that experience as well. Now, one other thing I wanted to add, because Zoe had this question that I wanted to chime in on too, because I know a lot of this conversation was about how do we win elections in Florida, statewide elections, what went wrong in Florida. Just a couple things that my thoughts that I want to share. There's a number of things that went wrong in this last cycle and in previous cycles for Florida Democrats, right? I want to focus on the message part because it was so much more than a message. But since we were talking about the message and the values, I think that we all as Democrats, for the most part, we do come from the same value system. We value things like equality. That's what Anna talked about. And what does equality really mean? Equality is obviously a very broad concept, but it's not just equality as in equal rights for women, for immigrants, workers, LGBTQ people, the disabled, Puerto Rico. It's equal opportunity for everyone to be able to live the American dream to their fullest potential, to live their best life as Americans. And equal opportunity can't happen when communities of color are incarcerated in mass. Equal opportunity can't happen when people are making $8.56 an hour, the minimum wage, because they will never get to a level where they can maybe buy a car, buy their own home, obviously get to the next level that they're striving for because they're working full time while living in poverty. Having high quality public schools, which goes beyond K-12, high quality public and free pre-kindergarten in addition to community college and state college. That's equal opportunity. Like there's a whole bunch of different ways that we can get there. And depending on what part of the state you live in, if you're a candidate, a Democratic candidate running for office in Miami versus in Tallahassee or Jacksonville or Orlando or Sarasota, we're all coming from the same place, the same values of equality and equal opportunity. But the way we talk about those issues to voters, I think can be somewhat different depending on what part of the state you live in. And I think that that's kind of one of the keys to us winning elections in the future, that we understand not only our audience, we don't compromise our values, but we talk about things in different ways with different groups of voters to get buy-in. Take another issue like guns. So, because I heard one of my Democratic colleagues talk about how criticisms of progressives, we're too extreme on guns. This is a complicated issue. I do not believe that we are extreme, but there's what you mentioned, Zoe, was Republicans have these issues you can't touch without being criticized. Guns is one of those things. Don't take away my Second Amendment rights. I have my Second Amendment. No one can touch this. No one can take this. No one can. We're talking about keeping our communities safe from gun violence. Universal criminal background checks, getting a background check before you purchase a gun, no gun show loopholes. This is something that should appeal across the board. maybe a candidate that's running, statewide in Florida talks about guns in a different way than I talk about guns in my East Orlando based district, one that's more progressive, more liberal, but also a community that was devastated by a mass shooting at Pulse that took the lives of 49 people. I don't have to apologize to anyone for my unequivocal commitment to an assault weapons and large capacity magazine ban, and I'm not going to apologize for that. But what I'm doing over here should not impact how Democrats are running for office in other parts of the state. You know what I'm saying? And it gets a little complicated sometimes based on the issue. But I think if we come from the same core value in the same space and figure out different ways to talk about it, I think that can really, really make an impact.
Okay, awesome. Did we have any other questions? Anyone else want to add? I saw we had Patrick put something in the chat. That's awesome. You can do that as well if you don't want to speak. But yeah, anything else? Okay. All right, so we're almost done. We just have a few more announcements, but I wanted to say thank you to Representative Smith and also Eskamani. She had to hop off, but thank you so much for coming. Like they both said, the work is not over. Obviously, election season is crazy busy, but the work is far from over, and we will definitely continue to work with both of them and more of our representatives. But thank you so much.
Thank you all. It's been great. Thanks for all your work. We'll talk soon.
Definitely. Okay, I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. I have a couple more things to go over. Okay. So we just have a few more opportunities to get involved in our organization and also some upcoming events. So we are going to be having an event on like immigration policy, DACA, and family separation at the border next week on Monday. Oh, I went too far. Next. So it's the same form to sign up that you used for this meeting. So if you got this email, then you're good to go. But yeah, so please come out to that event. We're going to be talking about immigration policy. That is going to be our last event of the semester. And then our last meeting of the semester is the next week, Tuesday, the 1st, right before finals start. We're going to be doing our final meeting, saying our goodbyes, but that'll be at 6 p.m. Tuesdays at 6 p.m. That's us. I also have Thanksgiving break and finals. I'm realizing now there's a typo, but just to keep those in mind, next week is Thanksgiving break. You have Wednesday through Friday off, so take it and relax before finals start on the 7th. Then we also have some opportunities. So I know we have Isabel here from Florida PIRG that wanted to talk a little bit about some opportunities that they have.
So sorry about that. My computer was freezing up. Hey everyone. My name is Isabel. I am an organizer with Florida PIRG students. You've probably heard me speak here, or Olivia, who's one of our interns. But I'm here to talk about our full-time organizing positions for graduating seniors to work on college campuses across the country. So I'm sure that some of you here are seniors and thinking about kind of what you're planning on doing after college. You're obviously all politically minded individuals. Maybe you're thinking about grad school, or maybe you're thinking about just hopping into the world right away. And if you're going into a political career, there are a ton of options. But to tell you a little bit about what we do as an organizer myself, and our organization is, we know that students are very often or always at the forefront of movements that work to build a better future for our country, from civil rights to voting rights to the environment. And that legacy fuels our mission today as we work to get students energized, but also organized to keep building a better future. So for example, our organizers are mobilizing students across the country online right now, as opposed to in person, but working to tackle climate change by convincing colleges to commit to meet their energy needs with 100% renewable energy sources. And we've been building real momentum. Last spring, CalPIRG students were given the American Climate Leadership Award for successfully getting the entire University of California system to commit to going towards 100% renewable energy. They also convinced the entire UC system to ban all single-use plastics and led the efforts for the California plastic bag ban. And we've also done some similar work on that in Florida, having Eckerd College in St. Petersburg become the first college in the country to implement the Break Free from Plastics Pledge and eliminate single-use plastics. And our organizers do that kind of work across the country to make lasting change on important issues. Our students at PIRG know that we need to show our leaders and future leaders that they have to pay attention to young people's voices. We worked on our New Voters Project, which is what you all have probably heard the most about if you've heard of our organization, where we worked in 12 different states to register and mobilize over 250,000 student voters to the polls this election. And at the end of the day, we all want to live meaningful lives in a world that's greener and healthier. That's the future that our campus organizers work to build every day with our students. And if you want a career working with great people, gaining real skills, and making a difference on important issues right now, this could be a really great fit for you. So I'm dropping an interest form in the chat. We're going to be having info sessions throughout the week. You can also reach out to Olivia and she can connect you to me, or you can just text me. I'll put my phone number in if you're interested. But you should fill that out if you're interested thinking about a career in nonprofit organizing. Just personally, like while some of you fill that out, this is probably the most rewarding thing I've ever done as an organizer. I graduated in May and I was a student with PIRG. And now getting to do the work where I watch students grow, take on real leadership and make concrete change in their community is really inspiring, because I know that I'm not just influencing those students, I'm influencing people across UCF's campus and campuses across the state of Florida, which I would argue is the most important state to be organizing in, and creating real tangible change for our generation and the tools they need to make real change. But if anybody has any questions, let me know, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So that's a great opportunity, full-time opportunity for any of our graduating seniors, but definitely, yeah, that's awesome. So thank you so much for coming. Fill out that interest form if you're interested, or reach out to Isabel or Olivia. Okay, so other opportunities, we still have 2 caucuses that are chairless. We have our Hispanic Latinx caucus and also our Disability caucus. So if you're interested in sharing either of those, the application is in that QR code. You can also create your own caucus. We do have a couple already, but if we don't have something that you'd be interested in starting, there's like a section in there where you can like apply for a different caucus. So definitely we would love to have you all as caucus chairs. That's a great way to get a little bit more involved in our organization. And then finally, I just wanted to mention that if anyone is interested in working with any representatives or organizations locally, we can help connect you. College Dems has some great connections across the Central Florida area. Obviously, we had representatives Ana Escamani and Carlos Guillermo Smith here a few minutes ago, and they put some info on how to get involved with them. But other representatives, politicians, also organizations like the Florida Democratic Party, Equality Florida. Those are the only 2 I can think of right now. But anyway, if anyone is interested in getting involved a little bit more in their community, you can always reach out to us and we can see how we can help you where like your place will fit in our community. So don't hesitate to reach out to us if you're looking for more involvement. But yeah, I will leave this up for a second in case anyone wants to grab that QR code. But are there any questions? Okay. So our final slide is just how to stay connected with us. We have our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and then our email. We are most active on Instagram. So if you're only going to pick one, follow us on Instagram. And then we also have our Slack channel right there. That is the QR code. Slack is kind of like a group chat. So that is how we communicate with our members outside of social media. So definitely follow us on all of there, join our Slack channel. If you have any questions, concerns, anything, you can always email us. But yeah, so that is it for our meeting. If you feel free, like the board will stick around for a few minutes. If you want to if you want to like chat or have any questions. And I just want to give a quick shout out to our high school Dems that are here with us tonight. We're super, super excited to have you guys, the future of our party. So that's awesome. Hopefully some future UCF students in there. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for coming. Again, if you have any questions, want to stick around, chat for a second, the board will stick around. But thank you so much.
Another shout out too to our new youngest UCF Dems member, Addison. Thank you for coming tonight, Addison. It was so nice to meet you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Of course, you're welcome anytime.
Alrighty. Well, yeah, that is all we have. So if nobody else has any questions, comments, anything, let me check the chat
Quickly
real quick.
talk about an opportunity. Sorry for interrupting.
No, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Can I quickly screen share?
Yeah, give me 1 second. Okay. Do you have like the ability or do you see it at the
No, it's
bottom?
disabled.